Okay, now under the matrix method for paraxial optics, let us discuss the effect of translation. Okay, so as we are repeating the same diagram, so you can mind the points P and M, and you can see that this is the Z axis, and then we have in this direction we have the X axis. Okay, and now what happens in the effect of translation? So what we are considering a ray of light traveling in a homogeneous medium. So I told you that from here to here, here to here, it is a homogeneous medium. So a ray of light is traveling through a homogeneous medium. Since it is traveling through a homogeneous medium, it is definitely going to suffer a translation. Okay, now and the homogeneous medium, here the refractive index is equal to n1. Okay, and and you can, all the points are simply represented in the diagram. You can see I will remove this part. This part is not that much necessary. I will use this. So here you see the point P has a coordinate, has a coordinate. Already I have discussed x1 alpha 1, and the point M has a coordinate x2 alpha 2. Okay, so where x1 is the height of the point P and x2 is the height of the point M on the ray of light above the principal axis. Principal axis means Z axis. Okay, now you can see that the point P and at the point M, this thing and this thing, they are parallel to each other, isn't it? So this line is going like this. So ultimately this angle and this angle, they are what? Equal. So that means from geometrical principle we can write down that alpha 1 equal to alpha 2. Okay, again you know that lambda 1 is equal to n1 sine alpha 1. Okay, so since alpha, here we are considering paraxial optics, so I have told you that all the angles are very small. So that means sine alpha n1, sine alpha 1 is nothing but alpha 1. So what is that? Under paraxial approximation, because under paraxial approximation all the angles are small. So we can say that lambda 1 is equal to n1 alpha 1. Similarly, lambda 2 will be equal to n2 alpha 2. Okay, so you can see that here what happens on this side. On this side there is no n1 n2. That all the what I can say, refractive index doesn't change. That means what? n1 is equal to n2 equal to n. So that is nothing but n alpha 1 and n alpha 2. Okay, so we already have this one. Okay, so we have alpha 1 equal to alpha 2. So if I multiply both side by n alpha 1 and alpha 2, that is nothing but lambda 1 equal to lambda 2. That is our first equation. Okay, next thing is that let us go back to the diagram. So you can see that x2 is greater than x1. Let me remove all this. I will make it clearer. So this is Z axis. Okay, now you can see that x2 is greater than x1 because the point P is little bit lower than point M. So what is x2? x2 is equal to x1 plus something, isn't it? So let me draw this diagram very carefully again. I will draw this diagram so that you can understand that logic here. So Zem, this is P. So this is alpha 2, this is alpha 1. Okay, so this thing is x2, this thing is x1. Now can I call this as suppose this point is already Q, so may I call this point as R. Okay, this is M dash, this is P dash. Okay, now from the triangle, so this is a right angle triangle, so from the triangle PMR, you can see that tan alpha 1 is equal to perpendicular by base, isn't it? So it will be so this distance I have already mentioned, this is nothing but D. So perpendicular is nothing but perpendicular by base, means if I call it MR, okay, by D, so MR is nothing but D into tan alpha 1. Alright, so that means x2 is equal to x1 plus MR, isn't it? Look at the diagram very carefully. So x1 plus D tan alpha 1, x2 equal to, I hope it is correct. So that means we have got another relation. Okay, so we have x2 equal to x1 plus D tan alpha 1. Again, under paraxial approximation, angles are very small, isn't it? So we are considering only those rays which are very close to the principal axis. So angle made by the rays with the principal axis is always small. So x1 plus D alpha 1. Okay, so x2 equal to x1 plus D. You see what is alpha 1? You know that lambda 1 is equal to, from here you what do you have, lambda 1 equal to n alpha 1. So alpha 1 equal to lambda 1 by n, can we write like that? Okay, so since we are considering, so simply D equal to, what have we got? Alpha 1 equal to lambda 1 by n. So lambda 1 by n. So I will further simplify it. So I will write it as D by n lambda 1. Okay, D by n lambda 1. So this is our equation number 2. So let us write it down very carefully. So we have two equations now. Lambda 1 equal to lambda 2. This is the first equation, and next equation is x2 equal to x1 plus D by n into lambda 1. Okay, these are the two things we have. So since you can see the two terms are on this side, so I will write it like this. So lambda 2 equal to lambda 1. Now this is our equation number 2. So now converting this to matrix equation. So how do we do that? You see, what are the variables here in this two equation? Equation number 1, variable lambda 1 and lambda 2, both are variables. Okay, in equation number 2, x2, x1 and lambda 1, these are the variables. So if we write something like this, so lambda 2 lambda 1, okay, so this is a column matrix. So and if we write like this, x2 x1, okay, so these are the variables lambda 1 and lambda 2, x2 and x1. This is about angles and this is about the height. Okay, so first equation, lambda 1 is equal to lambda 2. So what should be the value? Sorry, I have committed one mistake. So it should be lambda 2, it should be x2 because they are second variables. Similarly, it is lambda 1 x1. Okay, so it is a combination of angle and height for the second point, and this is the combination of angle and height for the first point, that is the point P. Now if we convert it into then what should be this matrix? This is the main important matrix that we are going to fill up. Now suppose that if I keep 1 here, it will be 1 into lambda then plus 0. So it should be 0 here. Okay. Similarly, I want to have x2 equal to x1 plus d by n into lambda 1. So x2 equal to what we should write here. I will write d by n and here I will write 1. So d by n into lambda 1, d by n into lambda 1 and 1 into x1. So ultimately we will have, see, lambda 2 x2 is equal to lambda 1 plus 0 d by n lambda 1 plus x1. So these elements are equal. Okay, we are just doing the reverse. Okay, so you can see that what happens whenever you do translation. Okay, so this translation, you see in the diagram, this particular matrix is for the point M and this particular matrix is for the point P. So translation is happening from P to M. Okay, you can see in the diagram, translation is happening from P to M. The ray of light is going. So during that translation process, how does it change? How the angle and the height of the image changes due to translation. So this goes like this, you see. So this is given by this matrix. So 1 0 d by n 1, this is basically called tau, or you can write down as t also. Okay, I will write it as t simply. Okay, this is called t and this is called translation matrix. Okay, so whenever you go through a translation, how the image angle and height changes will be determined by a translation matrix. Suppose that you have an image, okay, and the image has, suppose you have an image, say R. Okay, sorry, you have a let me draw the diagram again. Suppose that there is a lens coming and the ray is going from here to here. Okay, so I am asking you, suppose here to here, and this is R and this is S. I am asking you that how the ray will change from here to here. Okay, so here it is say x3 and alpha 3 and it is say x4 alpha 4. So how does it change? This is a final stage, this is a initial stage. So final stage, lambda 4 x4. So this is the final, okay, is equal to, or you can say that product. Okay, and it goes like that. And what is the initial stage? That is lambda 3 and x3, and obviously it is 1 0 d by n 1. So this is the translation matrix. So in this way we represent the translation in an optical system using the matrix method. So in the next video I will discuss what are the effect of reflection.